Buenos dias. Good morning. Buongiorno. Guten Morgen. Let me just say that it's a real pleasure to be here with you here in Argentina. I have been here just over 24 hours, and it's a great pleasure. I wish I had more time. But I'd really like to thank MacTour 2013 for inviting me here to be with you and to present some of the latest research and findings that we have been working on in the travel and tourism industry. I would like to talk to you today about the paradigm shift in the industry, and it's based on some recent work that we've just completed. Now, if there's one thing that I'd like to achieve today, is to really help you, or to, at least in a little way, change your thinking, or to help you to think a little more outside of the box. Now, there is a paradigm shift taking place in the travel and tourism industry. Now, what exactly is a paradigm shift? A paradigm shift is a radical shift in thinking. And when we think about the industry, it's not moving. This is going too quick. It's not moving. Okay, it's a radical shift in thinking. Okay, so remember the days when finance was the be-all and end-all of everything? Finance was it. Then the economy, then society, and then the planet. Today, very interestingly, the planet takes preeminence. Everyone today is concerned about the planet simply because there's no planet B. So the planet, society, the economy, and then finance. Now there is a paradigm shift taking place in the travel and tourism industry as well. And this shift is the movement from what we call the mass tourism scenario to a more customized form of travel and tourism. Now, some players are winning, and others are dying. And the key thing here is to understand that the travel and tourism industry is being pressurized and challenged in many different areas. War, terrorism, all of those factors are in fact taking place. And we have to realize that this is no longer business as usual. So, there's a growing shift in thinking about how to organize the industry to achieve more profits in a best possible way. So, mass tourism is no longer best practice. And what's driving these changes? One of the key factors is that the customers are today in the driving seat. The same factors that created all tourism are the same ones that are driving this paradigm shift. And if we take a quick look at mass tourism and how that was created, it'll help us get a better understanding of what exactly and how the industry is changing. Now, mass tourism was a logical outcome of key social and economic influences. There's nothing that you or I could have done to prevent the kind of tourism the world grew accustomed to. Post-World War peace and prosperity paid holidays, cheap package holidays, charter flights, cheap oil and jet aircraft all drove old tourism. In fact, mass tourism became best practice. And there's nothing that you or I could have done to prevent the kind of tourism that the world grew accustomed to. We produce tourism and travel no differently from the way Ford made his automobiles. Henry Ford was the father of mass tourism, and Thomas Cook was the father of, the opposite way. Henry Ford, the inventor of mass production, Fordism, and Thomas Cook, the inventor of mass, or the father, we would say, of mass tourism. Now, when we look at mass production, and we look at the Fordist method of production, for example, what we find is that there were set products, fixed prices, economies of scale. Suppliers were in control, and customers were mainly price takers. In other words, you can buy any car that you wanted once it was black. In travel and tourism, we had rigidly packaged hotels, holidays, tourists. In fact, travelers traveled in the same kinds of aircraft, took the same kinds of photos, slept in the same kinds of beds. They took the same kinds of tours, and they did everything almost the same. It was no different from mass production. Economies of scale and suppliers were in control. Customers were price takers. And of course, the Ford assembly line where you can get any car you wanted once it was black. And of course, these are the factories of mass tourism. Hotels that enter the beaches where you were known as not a tourist or holidaymaker, you were known as a room number. And of course, more factories, more production. Why is it taking so long? And of course, old tourism, it was mass, it was standardized, and it was rigidly packaged. And we're not sure whether affordable came from Ford, but certainly those holidays were affordable. And these were our old tourists. They didn't care where they went. Once it was warm, and once they got there, this could be anywhere. The destination almost did not matter. But ladies and gentlemen, there's change ahead. We think? So change is on its way, and there are some key drivers of the travel and tourism industry. And let's look at these drivers. There are fundamental shifts taking place in all of the elements that actually created mass tourism. The travelers are now in the driving seat. The technology is facilitating change. The environment is limiting growth. Locals, local people, local stakeholders are demanding change, and they're demanding new ways of doing business. And destinations are far more caring about the types of tourism and the types of travel that they actually generate. And ladies and gentlemen, these are our new travelers. These are American real estate agents who are having the holiday of their lifetime. They want to de-stress. They want to do something really different. And if you ask yourself how much it costs to put those people in that costume, it shows that the only limit to be successful in this industry is the imagination, our innovation. What products do we deliver and target our customers that really make them wanting more? And how much they paid for that holiday? 1,000 times more than the travelers who didn't care where they went or how they actually got there. Customers now want to be in the photo. In days of old, travelers traveled with the cameras and they took pictures. Now they want to do the things tourists do. And these are travelers. This is a traveler to Africa and want to do the same steps and want to be involved and to be engaged, like the tourists. They want to learn. They don't just want to eat your meal. They don't just want to look at tango. They want to dance it. They want to be a part of it. They want to be in the experience. And this is a traveler who is actually surfing into a volcano. He burnt his feet, but he had an incredible experience. Hand painting in Thailand. Body painting in Belize. Bring your own woman for that one. They're not included in the holiday. People want to engage, to be part and parcel of the whole experience. And as Bob Marley says, you can fool some people some of the time. You can fool some customers all of the time, but you cannot fool customers all the time. We need to listen to the customers, know them, and anticipate change. And the fundamental paradigm shift taking place as we see today is the shift in the customers. It is the customers that are driving and demanding change. We believe as suppliers, as airlines, as car rental companies, and as hotels, we believe that we are in charge. We are not. We used to be in charge because people never cared. People never cared where they went to and how they got there. They just wanted to go on holiday. But today, it's changing. And the travelers are in the driving seat. And we have found that there are three fundamental shifts that we have to take account of. There are demographic shifts. That means the aging of the population. There are psychographic shifts. That means how people think, how they feel, and how they behave. And very fundamentally, there are geographic shifts. Because remember that old tourism was born where people moved from colder north countries to the south. Now they're moving from west or from the east to the west, and they're moving everywhere. They are changing. But let's look quickly at some of these changes and how they are driving how we do tourism. So in our view, the balance of power is shifting. And it is the customers, the old ones, the young ones, the gay ones, they are the ones calling the shots. We have to listen to them. We have to understand them. We have to anticipate them. We have to satisfy them. And we have to give them exceptional, memorable experiences. Because at the end of the day, what do you take with you after a holiday? The memories of it. Demographic shifts, there are two main trends we want to look at. One is that the travelers are getting older. Whether we like it or not, every day, every minute, every hour, we are getting older. And the newer generations, they are young and restless. Let's look quickly at these two elements. In terms of the psychographic shifts, we want to look at the liberal hippies. You heard about the hippies, of course. You know who they are. You heard about the yuppies, the young, urban, upwardly mobile professionals. And how many of you heard about the bourgeois bohemians, the bobos? Well, you'll hear about them a little more today. And in terms of geographic shifts, the emerging markets, you heard of BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, China. These are the new kids on the block. And the travel patterns are shifting from east to west. Travelers are getting older. They are old, but they are not out. People are living longer and longer. They are fitter and fitter. Life expectancy was 40, believe it or not, in 1950. In 2010, it was 74 years. People are getting older, but they are much more active. And mind you, never try to cater to an old person by showing images of old people. We don't think that we are old. That's the point. So, old but active. Grandma does grandpa. Old but not out. So we can't ignore the over 50s market because believe it or not, The people over 50 years old, the total amount of people over 50 years old are more than the Chinese. Think about it. The over 50s population is growing faster than the world population as well. And of course, we did a special report on how to woo and win the over 50s travel market at Tourism Intelligence. And of course, the young and restless generations X, Y, and Z. And these are fundamentally different from their predecessors as well. And one of the key things to consider is that when we market to the generations today, we have to understand that in the past, when we talk about rich clients and stuff like that, a lot of them actually inherited their money. They had it made. A lot of people that are traveling today have earned it. And when you think about the emerging markets, they have earned it. They want to be treated with respect. This is not a matter of mommy giving me the big set of money. I've earned it. So the Generation X are the younger people, the young people, born from the late 60s to the early 70s. Generation X describes a lack of identity that Generation Xers felt. They have a healthy disregard for rules and/or authority. Generation Y, born between the early 80s and 90s, also known as the Echo Boomers. They're the largest generation since the 60s, and they basically are the offspring of the baby boomers. Generation Y, tolerant to race, gender, and sexual identity, extremely technology savvy, and diversity is one of the key Echo attributes. And if you see some of these people, I bet you that none of your marketing is geared towards attracting these creative people. But they are the guys who have the dough, a lot of them. And we very much have to change our marketing to target the type of people that we want to attract to our destinations. Of course, they're also known as the dumbest generation ever, or Generation Facebook, diversity, very tolerant. Justin Bieber. Generation Z, born around the 1990s to present, also called the I generation. They're true digital natives. And as a matter of fact, when you target these generations, knowing that they also make decisions, if you're not online, you're certainly not on sale. To them, CDs are vintage paraphernalia. Friendships are measured by the amount of connections you have on Facebook, and Foursquare certainly isn't a board game. Generation Zers are digital natives. And these are the future generation of travelers that we need to be catering to. DIY kids, do it yourself. I want it now. In addition to the demographic shifts, there are fundamental psychographic shifts taking place in the industry. Fundamental changes in the way travelers think, how they feel, and how they behave. And of course, in How the Americans Will Travel 2015, we've documented a lot of these changes. The psychographic shifts are from the liberal hippies to the status-driven yuppies to the sophisticated bobos. Now, who are the hippies? The hippie generation, some of us know them only too well, reveled in the excesses of what they apparently believe would be never-ending youth. Peace, love, happiness, hippiness, Woodstock, The Who, and the war in Vietnam. All of these are the types of things that drove the former hippie generation. The war is over, peace, the Peacemobile, love, traded everything for love, the Rolling Stones. The hippies give way to the yuppies, who are the young, urban, and upwardly mobile professionals. The yuppies insist on earning luxury products. They're willing to spend heavily on status, and their lifestyle is based on brands. If it's not branded, they don't want it. It has to be a Gucci, it has to be a Ferrari, it has to be all of those things. The yuppies had luck on their side. They were able to invest their income And this was a generation that was positively swimming in money. They started the rise of the Dinkys. You know what the Dinkys are? The double income, no kids generation. So it had to be branded. The Cartiers had to be a Ritz-Carlton, Don Penion. How to attract the yuppies? Status, style, success, create spending opportunities, no same old offering, sun, sand, sea, and a little tanning would also not hurt. Now the Bobos. Who are the Bobos? The bourgeois bohemians. Born around the 60s, high quality education and lifestyle. They're the new upper class and are rapidly becoming an important new market segment to target. Some people call them the creative class because of their professions. They're urban and well-educated, professionally successful, extremely materialistic, and top income generators. But the Bobos are bohemians because their values reflect some of the hippie spiritualism and quest for balance, healthiness, and meaning. In other words, have money and have a conscience. They feel driven to expand their cultural horizons through experiences and travel, and not just same old travel. The Bill Gates. Not enough to just be rich, but want to change the world and want to do something. An inconvenient truth. And these are kind of things that drive this generation. Greenpeace, stop whaling. Some of you may know that that Greenpeace deposited a whale, a dead whale, in front of the Japanese embassy in Berlin some time ago to stop the whaling. Cry Freedom, Amnesty International, Long Walk to Freedom. How to attract the Bobos? Exclusivity, education, excitement, entertainment, effort, physical or intellectual, existentialism, extravagance with a conscience, environmental and social responsibility, and emotional resonance. The emerging markets are the new kids on the block, and their travel patterns are shifting from west to east. These are the fastest growing economies in the world. China, India, Brazil, double-digit growth. China is the most valuable travel market after Germany and the USA, and rapidly becoming the first. But there are fundamental differences between these markets. And we cannot make the mistake of rolling out the same old products for the old markets for the new markets. Why? Traditional markets wanted sun, sand, sea, and sex. Not that the Chinese don't want sex too. Because, as you know, the Chinese had a policy of one child only, and that one child was usually a man, a male. And guess what happened 20 years down the road? There are not enough women for the men. From sun, sand, and sea, what do they want? They want to sightsee. They want to shop until they drop. And they want status. They want to be recognized. You have to treat them equally. Of course, Asia's Lonely Hearts in China. Understanding and attracting the emerging market travelers. What do we need to do? From our report on the top 10 emerging markets, we see Brazil is a very important travel market, growing very, very rapidly. Real GDP growth of Brazil beating Germany, United States, United Kingdom. And you're right on the doorstep of Brazil. Population size, nearly 200 million. while the populations of other countries like Germany is actually declining, other populations are increasing. So from slow population growth in the old markets, you have rapid population growth. And while you have aging populations in the old markets, the Western markets, you have pretty young markets in the new markets. Other factors that are driving demand, very critically, we are seeing a shift in incomes. We are seeing a growth in personal income. Travel is seen as status and lifestyle. It's good to travel. These people, the emerging markets, are young and upcoming. There's a thirst for new experiences. Travel is seen as social currency. It's a means of escape, and very critically, visiting friends and relatives. Because you know, both China, India, and these countries have a lot of relatives and friends in other places. The outbound travel of Brazil has been soaring. And of course, 40% of all Brazilians go within Latin America itself, with 25% going to Europe. For these emerging markets, we have to treat them with respect. Norms are different. We need to understand them. We need to learn about them. Cultural sensitivity is key. We cannot impose Western customs on emerging market travelers. We have to understand their specific needs. We have to learn to greet and meet them on their own terms. For example, all of us know about the bikini. Well, we have to welcome the bikini. People are different. How many of us are learning Chinese to talk to our new travelers? How many of us understand the Arabian culture or learning about it? Knives and forks in Western culture, fingers and fig leaves in India and some Asian countries. Halal assured. How many of you know what halal is? Even KFC is adapting their product to cater to the new emerging markets. And of course, McDonald's has created the Maharaja Mac to cater to the specific needs. I assume it doesn't have any meat in it, but they are going after the market, and they're changing and adapting their product to suit the market. So when you market and you think about your new markets and who you're catering to, think about what the market needs first, and then think about which products you're going to target the market, and change, and think about how the products need to be changed and modified and adjusted and packaged to suit these changing markets. And contrary to popular perception, not all Chinese eat dog. But don't be surprised if they request it. Is everyone following? Okay. Just to remind you again, the travelers are the ones that's driving the change. They are the ones that you have to be ahead of. You have to know them like the back of your hand. You have to be ahead of them. The technology makes it all possible. It facilitates it. The environment provides limits to growth. Locals are demanding something very different, and destinations are more caring. Of course, when we look at everything you need to about internet marketing, technology is facilitating change. It is changing the way we look, the way we book, the way we travel, and the way we consume travel. What's the important thing about technology is this. It's not just a telephone. or the internet. Or Facebook, or any of those individual technologies being diffused and used in travel and tourism. It's all of them and more. It's mobile, it's everything. The other important thing about the technology is that it's not a travel agent or the tour operator or the hotel or the destination that's using the technology, but all of them. And most importantly, the customers are users. They are equal from the point of view that they have access to equal information. So what the technology has done is to create a whole new system of wealth creation. As a matter of fact, you know, in the days of Bob Crandall, who used to run American Airlines, when they asked him whether he would sell his computerized reservation system or the airline, you know what he answered? The airline, of course, because the CRSs, the computerized systems, are a new way of creating wealth. And here's the value of the technology. Now, remember when those people traveled on the same aircraft and took the same tour on the same package and they went on holiday? Guess what? Those holidays were pre-packaged and pre-made and published in a brochure. It meant that it was completely inflexible. You could not change it. And what happened if you changed it? More expensive, because you had to buy a new flight and a whole new package just to make a change. Well, listen, guys, ladies. The technology allows the flexibility and does not penalize you in terms of higher prices. You see, Ford did cars, but we human beings are not cars. You can't produce us on that production line. We won't have it. Each one of us is individual. But we were forced, because packages were darn cheap, to go for it. Now we have a choice. Now packages are made in real time. You can book your flight, your hotel, and everything individually and separately, and guess what? You don't have to pay a fortune. This is the power of the technology. And if you are not using technology to create that flexibility, to satisfy the individual wants and wishes of your customer, forget it. You will be out of business. This is what technology does. It creates a platform. It allows you the flexibility. What do you do with it? And that's important. And this is why you can stay at a hotel and someone could say, good morning, Senor Negro. And you wonder, how does she know my name? Technology. So we need to use technology to deliver high-touch services. It's not about technology being used to save labor. It's technology being released from mundane tasks to deliver high-touch services that your customers will value and want. So this really is the power of the new technologies. Now, all technology, TV, travel agents, face-to-face, telephone, letter, post, encyclopedia, atlas. What do we have today? YouTube, Expedia, social media, Facebook, Skype, email, Google, MapQuest, and the list goes on and on and on. We're in a completely different generation altogether. And in order to win, woo and wow future travelers, you have to use the World Wide Web. Look at internet users, 500 million in China. Search engine optimization, we have the whole A to Z of what to do with the internet, so we won't go too much into that. E-marketing is critical because if you're not online, you're not on sale. And it's not about being in a directory either. very critically, we need to get mobile. Because guess what, guys? Ladies and gentlemen. Guess what? Do you know that in these emerging markets and in some destinations, they don't have landlines? Landlines are history. There are 900 million mobile users in China and 812 million in India. So if you want to reach them, what do? You need mobile apps and you need to get mobile. So just to remind you again, we spoke about the travelers who are driving it and the technologies that's facilitating it. The environment is also limiting growth. Under old tourism, the more the merrier. Growth with no care for the environment. Now we grow and we think very carefully, what impact is this going to have on the environment? Because you know what? If we don't care about it, our customers do. And more, in many communities, when you think about ecotourism and you think about great attractions, where are they? They're not in town. They're not in the city. They're somewhere, and that somewhere happens to be where people live. In the past, we would look at these lovely beaches and build huge hotels and never bother once to ask the people around, do you think you'd like this? They never mattered. Local people never really mattered. Today they do, because they're demanding, they have access to the web, they know what's going on, and they know exactly what they want. But guess what? Exactly what local people want is exactly what the customer wants. So we have to start listening. Listening to our local people, listening to the cultures, and listening to the different people so that we can understand and bring products to the market that are unique, that are different, and that people would really come here for. That's where it's at. Ozone destruction in the past. We now have carbon reduction. Healthy disrespect for the environment. We have much more planning and control. And environmental NGOs, like the Greenpeace and so, were like rabble-rousers. Today, they are very important partners in any process of national, regional, and world development. And believe it or not, German travelers to the Maldives are provided, or I should tell you, German travelers to the Maldives, the ones that go diving and so, guess what they do? They pick up the garbage and they bring it back home. The airline LTU provides travelers with an eco bottle, an eco bag, and anything that they take to the Maldives, it could be a shaver or whatever else it is, that cannot be disposed of in the Maldives, they actually bring it back home. And I'm giving this example to demonstrate the extent to which travelers are willing to go to save planet Earth. Because there's no planet B. We mash it up, that's it. It's gone forever. So under old tourism, it was about mass destruction. Today, locals are saying enough is enough. The natural attributes are giving way to man-made attributes, because more and more, it's not what you have, but what you do with it that actually counts. And in the past, tourism just happened. Today, it's more and more, it's actually planned. With regard to locals, locals were taken for granted. Now they're listened to. They were unaware of the negative impacts. Now they're more and more informed. In the past, they were passive. Today, they're active. And locals and tourists used to be at loggerheads, fighting each other. And now there's a coincidence of once between the locals and our travelers, because they both want to conserve and sustain the environment. Does that make sense? So, the paradigm shift in travel and tourism. The center of our universe used to be suppliers. In other words, it used to be us, hotels, destinations. And technology, and then the customers, and then the environment. Today, the customers and locals are taking preeminence. What they want and what they want to do is more and more important than ever before. The environment takes second importance. The technology is also critical, and we come last. Let's face it. We are the back of the food chain, and we will remain there if we don't understand that the whole thing has shifted from under our feet. We no longer build a hotel, furnish the hotel, and then wait for it to be filled. We start saying, who is our customer? Are they gay? Are they gay vegetarian who have an interest in art? Of course they'll need a different type of hotel than that hotel. So we need to think very differently and start with the customer first. So as we see it, if we look at the car example, the suppliers are the wheels, the environment is the brakes, technology is the engine, travelers are the drivers, and locals are the passengers. Now, having looked at this paradigm shift, at Tourism Intelligence International, we have identified 26 competitive strategies to drive this business. Can't go through all of them, but I'll just give you a taste of a few. Develop authentic experiences. B, you've got to be branded. A lot of people believe, oh, we have the internet. Everybody can reach us. We don't need a brand. Wrong. We do need it more than ever. Content is key. We need to diagonally integrate. And e-marketing is essential. How are we doing for time? Okay. We need to deliver an experience. What do we mean by that? We have moved from 4 stages of development. From extracting commodities like coal, iron ore, gold, and diamond. Then we manufacture. We've moved to manufacturing. So the coal would make iron ore and we'll make cars. Then we'll do services. And of course, we deliver experience. But let me give you an example of a coffee bean. A coffee bean that's picked and sold raw. How much will that cost per cup of coffee? Maybe 25 cents. If the bean is roasted and it's sold in a Starbucks, you probably pay $1 for the cup of coffee, right? Now, if that bean is Italian roasted and you drink it in Venice, it could put you back $25. Now, if that bean was picked only on moonlight nights with virgins, I mean, that could cost you. You can't pay for it. But this is the point. How do we add value to something that we've had all of the time and sold in the same old way all of the time? How do we begin to add value? In fact, I can tell you the amount of people who would volunteer or pay a fortune to go and help pick those bloody coffee beans. Okay, so take the example of pizza. You have wheat, which is an agricultural product. You have an oven, you bake the pizza, you have a restaurant, but then you host a birthday party, which is an experience. So we see how we begin to add value through and through to the whole system. So it's really about an experience. And the most fundamental aspect of this experience is people. The workers, they are the actors, they are the performers, they are the deliverers, they are the storytellers. And they're not the same people that you pull off the street and ask to work in your hotel. They have to be trained in a certain way. They have to be invested in to really deliver those exceptional experiences. Travelers want authentic experiences. The history, the festivals, the story behind the scene, the people, the places, the wars you fought, anything that's interesting, different, exciting, makes things work. Rio Carnival, Peru's authentic culture, of course, your tango, Chile. Imagine, can you believe that people travel to Spain to pelt each other with tomatoes? They do. So they have a Tomatino festival That's one way of getting rid of some excess agricultural produce. Dirty dancing in Korea. Carnival in Trinidad. And of course, Berlin, the Beer Festival in Germany. Very importantly, you got to be branded. Now think about every time you use the internet. You automatically feel more comfortable booking a product that you know. Whether it's a Hilton, a Marriott, something that you know already or have experience with. Being online doesn't necessarily mean that you can just exist with a no name. You still need to be branded. Now let's look at old branding and new branding. What do we have here? Old branding was controlled by the supplier. So this supplier developed the brand and he was in control. Today your brand is being controlled by your customer. Your customer tells every other person and every other customer what he or she thinks about your brand. You're no longer in control. Long ago, branding was about selling. You want to sell that product. Today, branding is about enrolling. So you have your American Airlines program, you enroll. And you choose to fly all the way around the world to get a few more points. It's about enrolling your customers. In the past, branding was about advertising. So we advertised a brand, we advertised it and over-advertised it. Today, it's really about exciting and engaging your customer. It's about letting them feel something when they engage your product. It's no longer about conveying information, about telling them whatever. It's about sparking their imagination, making them want to go, making them want to come, making them want to stay, and letting them tell 20,000 other people, this was so fantastic. And of course, it's not just about communicating, me telling you. It's about conversing. It's about a conversation. It's about us being in it together. So fundamental things have changed. So of course, Nike, just do it. Of course, the way Benetton advertises, it's easy to forget that they're very serious about making money. And Benetton, of course, launched an unhate campaign. And quite frankly, you have to ask yourself, and they also launched an Unemployee of the Year campaign, which they called for the best project from among the customer base of people who were unemployed. The point about it is, what does any of this have to do with clothing and Benetton? In fact, it has everything to do with it because it's really a different approach to selling and to marketing. It's about caring about their customer base. And this is where there's a completely different approach to what we call corporate social responsibility. Under corporate social responsibility of the past, you were mainly concerned about shareholders, people who paid for the company. Today, they are very much concerned about stakeholders who are also local community people, who are other people, who are the press, who are locals. Corporate social responsibility used to be about lone rangers. I think I want to help, and I'm doing that. Today, it's a movement. It's people together for the same purpose, doing things together. It's no longer about compulsion. I feel I have to do it. I want to do it because I want to change the world. I want to make things different. It's not just about philanthropy. It's about enlightened self-interest because people who are doing this and do it well make even more money. It's not a cost, but it's also a benefit. And of course, it's not just about caring about your own company. It's about society. It's about people. It's about the world. It's about planet. And it's not just a nice thing to do. It's a necessity. Because there is no planet B. So this is where things are changing gradually. On the D aspect, I want to explain to you a little bit about what we call diagonal integration. Heard that term before? Diagonal integration. You heard about horizontal integration and vertical integration. Okay, this is what it is. In vertical integration, like Ford, he will try to control his different aspects, whether it's tires and iron and all of those things. So everything that's part of the production process, he controls. Okay? So you have forward and backward integration. So, vertical integration, like in the airlines, you had air transportation, charter flights, holiday packaging, retail distribution, marketing and sales. And of course, in terms of the package store, you would try to control the charter flights, the hotels, and everything else. How many of you heard about Pan Am, that owned Hilton Hotel, that no longer exists? It's clearly not something that has actually worked or is going to work for the future. So we can take the car example to a limit, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's what will actually drive change. Horizontal integration now is when you move across the line. A hotel buys a hotel, so it controls capacity. A cruise line buys another one, and then they control. And the purpose of doing that is because you want to gain control and control prices and, of course, make more money. Now, think about diagonal integration. Diagonal integration really is where you use an IT platform to not produce one product to a supermarket of clients. It's when you target your client base and you decide, these are the elements that I want to sell that client. So what happens? Let's give a great example of this. And I'm going to give you the example of Saga Holidays. That actually, I'm not sure if you heard about them. It's a British company that actually founded in 1951, focused on the over 50s market with a cruise section beginning in 1975, and they're, of course, catering, starting from the over 60s and now cater to the over 50s. But what's exciting about what they do Saga Holidays, Saga Cruises, Saga Insurance, Saga Finance, Saga Independent Living. The point about it is that you have a target clientele, and you're meeting the needs of the target clientele. And that's different from producing one black car and selling it to everybody. That is how you make money. And you use the technology to combine those services for best productivity and most profits. So, of course, this is how they actually do it. Assisted care living. And, of course, don't be surprised if they're going to hospitals and all of those other things, because it fits with the whole thing. And, of course, selling real estate and whatever else has you that over 50 people might be interested in. And even having a category that caters to third-generation travel, where the older people can travel with grandchildren, and catering to some special holidays where it makes sense for them. Oh, by the way, do you know that one of the most exciting, or did you know, as a matter of fact, that one of the areas that's been targeted for second home ownership, you've heard about the term snowbirds, right? Older people in America moving to Florida to get away from the cold climates. Do you know where they're buying real estate now? On the cruise ships. And guess why? Every day a new destination, and the kids feel much more comfortable visiting them on a cruise on a holiday than going all the way somewhere. They just love it. And I want to introduce you to the new and most successful tourism destination in the world. These are them. Cruise. A cruise is the most successful tourism destination. Why do I say that? Anybody remembers the year 1958? Some of you may not have been born, sorry, but if you know a little bit of history, 1958 was a significant year in the travel and tourism industry. Why? 1958 was the year of the jet aircraft. And what does that mean? It meant the death of the shipping industry. Because previously, travelers traveled across the Atlantic by ship. With the introduction of the jet aircraft, you could have gone across the Atlantic in no time at all. everybody thought that the cruise shipping industry was dead. Why? To take a cruise, what you needed? Time. You had to have 3 or 4 months at a time to take a cruise or to travel that long way. What also you needed to have? Money. It was also very expensive. And as a matter of fact, if you were not old, had a lot of time on your hand, it wasn't for you. Now, the most innovative product on this travel and tourism earth right now are these guys. Cruises used to be a marathon voyage. Do you know that the fastest growing segment of the cruise industry today is, guess what? The 2 to 5 day cruise. Look at any cruise that lands anywhere at any of your ports and just look at the people coming off. Guess what? They could be in your hotels. They are young, ordinary Americans. It's not just the wealthy, elderly. Cruises used to be a journey. Now they are the destination. And quite frankly, any of us in this cruise business, which means all of us, who believe for 1 minute that the destination that the cruise are coming to is Argentina or Peru or Chile, forget it. The cruise is already the destination. We, the destinations, have become the ancillary services. Let's realize that. Don't fool ourselves. We are the ancillary services. It's catered to everyone, and very critically, let me explain this to you. Fordism and mass production worked because it was darn cheap. How did you make it darn cheap? Mass, scale, size. Guess what these guys have done? They have combined scale and flexibility to create the ultimate mass customized experience. And this is the future. This is the future of travel and tourism. So they use the technology, and because every one of these cruise lines have, what, 4,000 berths? Can you imagine how many people are on there? Can you imagine the buying power? And the way the space is divided, you can have everything on there. From basketball fields, football fields, swimming. You can literally have everything you can have on land, almost, on a cruise ship. Literally. Casino, gambling, shopping, you name it, it's there. Plus, you wake up every morning and you're at a new destination, too. So, no hassle, no stress, no anything. Now, why are cruises so successful? And I think we need to take a page out of the cruise lines books if you want to be successful. This is, you talk about laissez-faire, you talk about free trade. This is free trade par excellence. No labor unions, no taxes. They have the chefs from Italy. They have their hotel operators from Switzerland and Germany. They have British and Irish comedians, American entertainers, Turkish waiters, Jamaican barmen, Asian hospitality and housekeepers, Thai massages. Now, really, literally everything. They have the most sophisticated and up-to-date plant and equipment. This ship is at sea. This is not on land. It's moving every day. And can you imagine how difficult it is to operate with salt water? Can any of you imagine? It's really hard. It wears on the elements. They're into research, development, new materials, new technology to make it work for them all the time. When last have we renovated our plant and equipment here at the destination? We believe we built a hotel 20 years ago and it's still working? Really? When have we refurbished our employees, our workers? And we think we want to still be in business? Forget it. Okay, I have 2 minutes. Okay, so they have an increasing environmental focus, mass customization, extensive use of IT, and critically, they cater to everyone. Gay, straight, you name it, that's it. Now for Argentina, you cannot continue to compete with tango alone. Yes, you have some nice nature. What's the other thing you say you have? Yes, you have food and wine, but you cannot continue to compete on tango alone. You have to add talent and technology to the mix. If you don't have the talent, beg, borrow, or steal it. You have to be a location that allows you to be hip and happening. Why aren't there tens of thousands and millions of people lining up to come to Argentina? Why should someone come to Argentina? Think about it. Think about it. You need to create those reasons. And in addition to that, you need to open your economy. I could talk more about this, but just to tell you, the closed policies can't work. Cannot work and will not work. It didn't work in 1813 or 1913, and it will not work in 2013. You need to open up. You need to open yourself to investment and talent if you really want to go somewhere. When we've looked at all of these successful destinations, whether it's Dubai, whether it's the cruise lines, they have a very similar thing in common. They are open to talent, and you have to attract the creative classes of people. Of course, don't leave Mark II with your copy of The Paradigm Shift in Travel and Tourism. And just to tell you very briefly, probably don't have time for it, but we realize that the travel and tourism industry is changing. And since the year 2000, we've launched the most in-depth pieces of work on how the British, the German, the Japanese, the Americans, and the emerging markets will travel, how they're traveling, why they're traveling, and what we need to do to succeed. And we have done a lot of research and analysis, but we are not really, we are results-oriented and not merely task-oriented, because we insist that good intelligence must lead to practical advice, clever competitive strategies, and solutions to well-defined problems. For example, just to give you Abu Dhabi came to us. What was Abu Dhabi's problem? We are the capital of the Emirates, but everybody knows Dubai. Hey, what do we do? So we went there and we told them, don't try to be Dubai, stay different, be authentic and focus on your rich cultural heritage. We also told them if you want to be recognized as a city-state, you need an icon. Eiffel Tower, Statue of Liberty. And we looked far and wide to find out what was unique and special about Abu Dhabi. There's our team on the field. And what we really found is that, not pearl diving, it's Sheikh Zayed, who's now passed. But he was the one who ensured that every single citizen of the Emirates actually shared in the wealth of the Emirates. Few people know that and the role that he's played in peace. And we told them to build a building out to sea in the shape of a pearl, 11 stories, celebrating the life and time of Sheikh Zayed. So really it's about, in South Africa, you may have heard about responsible tourism. We invented responsible tourism because when Mandela came in and they needed a way to go, it was the only possible way to make a difference. So with that, I want to say thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure being here. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
Bueno, tenemos un pequeño espacio, muy cortito, muy breve, para algunas preguntas. Por favor, Auliana, si querés pasar al... Bueno, acá tenemos alguna pregunta. La primera dice, al tener turismo internacional selectivo, ¿cómo podemos hacer para que esto no excluya al turista local?
Quite frankly, you cannot have international tourism without local tourism. Because the people who want to travel today and who are looking for these unique, authentic experiences, guess what? They don't only want to be the only tourists at a venue, they want to see locals participating and locals enjoying it. So you have to involve local people. And the first thing to ask yourself is, do all Argentinians understand, appreciate, and have experienced everything Argentina has to offer so that you can promote it? So you need local tourism.
Okay. ¿Podemos ir a ver otra pregunta más? Los segmentos que has descrito reflejan muy bien la maduración de mercados de Europa y de Estados Unidos, pero ¿son aplicables a nuevos mercados como China o Brasil?
Well, one of the things we mentioned actually is that these new markets are very different. You need different strategies, you need different products to satisfy those markets. So the point about it is that the same old strategy will not work for the old markets as the new markets. You need to think differently, and you need to take different strategies and different approaches to those new markets. Language, culture, means, mechanisms. We've seen more Chinese are connected than probably even Argentinians as a percentage of total. So we need different methods, different approaches.